The Board of Trustees of the Marlin Independent School District is called to order at 5 p.m. This is a special call meeting being held on April 6, 2026. We'll have the roll call. Rosalind Dimerson, absent. Misty Ehlers,
Present.
Billy Johnson, Wynette Outland,
Present.
Berlene Terry, present. Sharon Tomlinson,
Present.
and Deborah Trotter.
Present.
We have a quorum. We have 6 members present with Ms. Dimerson absent. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance and a pledge to the Texas flag and a moment of silence as you feel appropriate. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. Mrs. Strickland, are there any public comments?
Public comments at board meetings are limited to items on the posted agenda. To address the board, individuals must sign up before the meeting starts and indicate the agenda item they wish to speak on, as outlined in policy BED local. Comments are restricted to 3 minutes per meeting. There are no comments, Madam President.
Okay, thank you. The next item on the agenda is closed session, and now it's 5:02, and we're adjourning to closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551074 to discuss personnel matters. Thank you. The Board of Trustees of the Marlin Independent School District is called to order at 5:55 p.m. This meeting is a board workshop. Excuse me. We got some. You back up a session.
It's not yours, right?
No.
Start right there. and then flip over.
Okay. We are now back into open session, and it's 5:55 p.m. We do have a quorum. Are there any motions to be made?
Madam President, I move that board approve the hire of the athletic director and head coach as discussed in closed session.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Ms. Ehlers, Ms. Tomlinson moves, and Ms. Ehlers seconds that we hire a coach that was suggested. And now, do we have any discussion on this motion? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any oppose? Any abstain? If not, the motion carries. Okay? Mr. Bates, you want to facilitate from this point?
Yeah, so next we'll have the consideration and possible approval of the board operating procedures.
Okay, do I hear a excuse me?
Yes, Madam President, I move that we table the board operating procedures as presented by the Board Operating Procedure Committee upon review of the LSG coach.
Okay, I hear a motion. Do I hear a second to that motion?
I second.
Okay, Ms. Outland. Ms. Ayers moves, Ms. Outland seconds. Do any of you trustees have any questions about this? Okay, then let's all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any oppose? Any abstain? If not, motion carries 6-0. Then may I? The time is now 5:57, and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you. We'll try this again. Okay. The Board of Trustees of the Marlin Independent School District is called to order at 5:58 PM. This meeting is a board workshop being held on April 6th. Roll call would be Rosalind Demerson, absent. Misty Ayers.
Present.
Billy Johnson. Lynette Outland. Berlene Terry. Sharon Tomlinson. And Deborah Trotter. Okay, we have a quorum with 6 members present and Ms. Demerson absent. We have already had both pledges and a moment of silence, therefore, we'll move to public comments. Ms. Strickland, are there any public comments?
Public comments at board meetings are limited to items on the posted agenda. To address the board, individuals must sign up before the meeting starts and indicate the agenda item they wish to speak on, as outlined in policy BED local. Comments are restricted to 3 minutes per meeting. There are no comments, Madam President.
Okay, thank you. The next item on the agenda is closed session, and there'll be no need for us to go into closed session for this meeting. So next, we'll have the superintendent's report. Mr. Bates,
Thank you.
your turn.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll be very brief. This past week, I was able to continue meeting with various people throughout the community, and I was able to meet with Ms. Tina Hagsma, who is the operating manager at the local HEB. And she was very enthused and shared a lot of will of wanting to partner with the district in areas of donation, awards, and recognitions that we can have for all of our staff, including Board of Trustees. And just overwhelming, sharing so much information on how HEB can partner with Marlin ISD, and I really do want to show say how much I appreciate her giving us the time and the ability to do that. I also want to make sure that everyone takes the time to make sure we support our students this week. It is STAR testing this week. I always use the saying when I was a campus administrator, our children are intelligent, but this is the time they have to show it on paper. So we want to make sure that we're making sure our students get into bed on time, making sure they're getting nutritious meals. That way they will have the strength and the stamina to do what's best over these next few weeks of testing sessions and things like that. And then also, I would like to commend, and we recently, as you all heard in the last meeting, we had a long search, but also a very tried and true process of finding our new athletic director and head coach. And I've been able to speak to him and, of course, to all of the people to make sure that we have a smooth transition. His name is Mr. Iris Gaines. And Mr. Gaines, he's coming to us from the Houston area. He's coming from Lamar Consolidated where I work, but he's unfortunately, he and our paths never really crossed, as I think he's only been there for 1 year. But I know the community has been waiting for this announcement, and I'm excited to know that he'll be taking our boys and the girls, our males and females athletic program into the future. And so that's all I have, Madam President.
Okay, thank you. Next Mr. Bates. You want to,
Okay, so next we'll have the Lone Star Governance Goal Progress Measures Update, College Career Military Readiness 3.1, 3.2, and 3.3 from our Chief Academic Officer, Mrs. Swatek. Ms. Swatek?
Good evening, Board President Terry, Superintendent Bates, members of the board. As Superintendent Bates mentioned, we are here to do our update on our goal progress measures for college career military readiness. This is part of our goals that we will be doing throughout the year, and we're excited to share some great information with you guys. All right, so just to give you all a little bit of background, when you're looking at college career military readiness, there are multiple ways that a student can earn credit for that. And so we wanted to start just by making sure everybody kind of has a picture of what all students can complete in order for the state to say, hey, we think that this kiddo is going to be successful. They've demonstrated that for us. So one of the most common ways is by meeting the course criteria for SAT, ACT, or TSI. Included in that is what's called a college prep course. We currently use College Bridge for our college prep courses. And really what college prep does is it prepares a student who can go into college not necessarily ready for freshman level, but able to say, hey, I have a good understanding. I'm not going to have to take a developmental class, even though I may not have been at the same level of an SAT or an ACT test. Another way that they earn is through dual credit courses, and then through their criteria in advanced placement or in an international baccalaureate exams. We're not there yet, but they have the opportunity to earn it through an associate's degree. And then as well as an on-ramps dual credit course, or for our students who are currently identified with special education services, they can earn it in the college readiness area if they also complete the advanced diploma plan, which means that they have achieved and completed Algebra 2 and the requirements for that diploma plan. Many of our students also are interested in things outside of college. So the state of Texas says that another option is College Career Military Ready, which includes completing what's called an industry-based certification exam in certain areas and pathways, or a level 1 or level 2 certificate. And those basically say, hey, at this point, you could hire me. I have a solid understanding of what I'm doing. I can come into the workforce and be ready to go. Again, we have an option for our students who receive special education services. In order for them to do it in the career readiness, they have to have completed their IEP and demonstrated workforce readiness. So there's a lot of ways for various groups to do that. And our last area is through enlisting in the United States Armed Forces or the Texas National Guard. I share that because I want you to have an understanding as we kind of go through some of the next things, that there's a lot of ways that kiddos can show that they're ready to move on from high school. So this piece right here is probably part of some of the most complex pieces of how and why CCMR matters. So if you take a look, you're going to notice that when the high school gets their accountability, 70% of that score comes from either the best of score from Domain 1, which is student accountability on various areas, or Domain 2, which typically is growth and connected or connected to our low-income proportions. That is significant because no matter which way you look at it, if you go Domain 1, you'll notice that CCMR is worth 40 points. If you go Domain 2, where it looks at our low socioeconomic, it's worth 50%. So you're looking at either 40% or 50% of that large chunk of 70%. So a very large chunk of our accountability at the high school level, which in turn impacts the district, comes from our CCMR credit. It also, as if that wasn't enough, comes up when you look at Domain 3, which is our federal accountability standards. And in this regard, you're looking at the student quality and student success from the federal government requirements, and that counts towards 30% of Domain 3. So it's pivotal. What the state is saying, what the federal government is saying is, hey, we need to make sure when kiddos leave Marlin, Texas, they are ready to go into the workforce or they are ready to be successful in college. And so when they do that, in order for us to help them, what we make sure that we do is we set goals to make that and be able to track that and know that our kids are ready. So every 5 years, the state of Texas is required to submit, or the district is required to submit to the state, our House Bill 3 goals. It's going to be third grade reading, third grade math, and college career military ready. Those are the pivotal points that the state has identified. Hey, if a kiddo is not ready to go forth in third grade, they're going to continue to struggle. If they're not ready to go forth in CCMR at the end of high school, they're going to struggle in the workforce. They're going to struggle in college. We want to make sure that they're totally ready. So last month, you guys approved our CCMR goal, which stated that by May of 2030, the district will maintain a college career and/or military readiness graduation rate of at least 90% based on a baseline of 100%. Yes, I realize 90 is lower than 100, and that looks a little strange. There's a reason for it. And a lot of it has to do with how things are figured, what the district previously did, what we previously focused on, where we're going, knowing the changes that are coming to CCMR over the next 5 years. So, whenever we give you guys a goal, we're always going to give you a progress monitoring as well. Okay, so when we look at third grade, we're looking at the lower grades. When we look at CCMR, we're looking at the different components and where kiddos fall throughout their 4 years in several of those components. So you'll notice that GPM 3.1 deals directly with industry-based certifications. In 2025, we were at 0%. Our goal is to make that to 15% in 2030. I'm gonna hit pause right quick because there's something important you need to know. That 2025 score and accountability is based on 2024 graduates. So the odd thing about CCMR versus accountability in testing is that this has a lag year. And that's primarily due to when we get results back from SAT, ACT, TSI. A lot of that national testing, AP, IB, you don't get results back until July, which is after the state has done their thing. So it's all done on a lag year. So anytime we say, hey, we're looking at 2027's accountability, that means we're looking at current 2026 grads. Or we're looking at 2030's accountability, that means we're looking at 2029 grads, okay? So when we look at GPM 3.2, that's our SAT, ACT, TSI. You'll notice that we did not put college prep in there, and that was intentional. And we'll talk about it a little bit more in a minute, but one of the major changes taking place with CCMR is that college prep will now, while it will continue to be accepted, there are a lot of parameters being put on it. For starters, there is not an approved math college prep provider in the state of Texas yet. And in order for you to get credit for SAT, ACT, TSI, you have to have met in both math and reading. So for starters, we didn't want to focus a goal on something that we don't even know if it's going to be available for our kids to have access to it. The other is with the reading, there is access to those in various areas. However, there's only 4 different providers at this time, And the state has not confirmed that those 4 are willing to open up to outside districts or people outside of their area. And there's not currently a provider within the Region 12 area or within or near Marlin that's currently endorsing a college prep class. So there's a reason that we left that part off of 3.2. The last one that we included was 3.3, and it deals with our kiddos that are receiving dual credit. So there's multiple ways that a kiddo can get CCMR credit for dual credit. Number 1, I take and pass 3 hours of dual credit English. 1 semester class, I'm good, I'm done, I got my credit. If I don't want to take it in English, but I need to get some extracurriculars out of the way, speech, psychology, various things of that nature, I can do up to 9 hours, and if I receive those full 9 hours in a non-English class, then I can get credit. So when you see English or 9 hours, that's where we base that off of, because that is the current dual credit requirement, although I hear that is changing. I'm waiting for more information on that. But you will notice in all of these cases, these numbers are not as high as 90% or 100%. And this is why. Under the previous CCMR goals, and this is new from what you all had in your original packet, but under this chart, originally, your CCMR goal was set for the 100%, which we've achieved, but your GPM was set solely based on the college prep course. Because at that time, we knew that that was, or previously administration knew that that was a way that we could, through practice in a classroom with whatever modality that we were using, online with teacher support, it was a way that they could get that credit and be able to say, hey, we are CCMR ready. The state has come back and said, in reviewing and researching data, they are finding that students who got their credit for CCMR through college prep are less likely, almost by 50%, to be successful in college after their first year. So the state has said, hey, that's where we're going to change up the way college prep works. That's where we're going to change possible providers. That's where a lot of those pieces came from. So when you guys approved those previously, that was a good, solid GPM. It was a good, solid goal to approve at that time with where the state was headed. Research shows, hey, things changed. That didn't work as well as the state thought it would. So we decided that we would be proactive and make some changes in our goals. So if you look in this first column, you will see over here the 2025 accountability. You're going to see that our overall goal is 100%, which we met based on our 2024 grads. But in that CTE one where it says 0%, we didn't have any kiddos that earned industry-based certifications as 2024 grads, and it was not addressed in our goal progress measures. You will see that we did make it in the TSI College Prep SAT, but I made those 2 asterisks because I wanted to make sure that you noticed if you looked solely at TSI, SAT, and ACT, we only had 4% of our students successful on that test. So I wanted to give you the context of, yes, we met our goals, yes, we achieved that accomplishment through the state, but we knew where we were going when we set the current goals that we did. We did the same thing with dual credit. We do have kiddos now who, through some of our Falls County Rural Cooperative classes, have the opportunity to get dual credit through the TSTC classes. And so I believe that's where some of this 2% has probably come in from. It's not because of a dual credit class that they took on our campus or through our campus. Okay, but I want you to look in that second column for the 2026 accountability, which was our 2025 grads. We are on track to still meet our overall goal of 100%, because again, this was based on previous grad year, so we know what those kiddos did. But again, we had 0% that earned credit in IBCs, 4% on SAT, ACT, 2% on dual credit. So therefore, we went up and forward. So if you look, you'll see that we, in our next section, our 2027, these are our current seniors, and the projections that we put in place for our GPMs, and then for the next 3 years after. You will notice this gold column. I added that because I was on a call with TEA last week, and they are mapping out new CTE requirements that will impact our current 8th graders to be 9th graders. And it will now look a lot like tiering the same way that standardized testing. They've not provided all the details, they've not mapped it all out, but I did want to put that in there because we do have solid goals in place, but while we're looking at those goals, we're also thinking 5 years ahead, and we're having to look at, okay, what do we need to do for dual credit? What do we need to do for SAT, ACT? Because no longer will it be that just one, you can still get credit for one, but you can't get the advanced credit unless you have multiple areas. So we're looking at a lot of different things all at the same time. That brings us to our actual GPM progress right now. Hopefully this chart looks familiar. It does come from our governance. So let me walk you through a little bit of what you're looking at. You will see up at the top the overall goal. Then you will see the current progress measure for 3.1. This is the chart based on the goals that we set. And then over here on the side is where our current students are. And then underneath is just some commentary for you. So when I look at 3.1, specifically our IBCs, what you will notice is that we do have 10 current seniors who have completed coursework that is necessary to be considered ready. We're waiting for them to take their IBCs late April, and then we'll know, hey, did those 10 get us the point? Okay, you'll notice that in 2027, our current juniors, we have 14 of 39 that are on track, and that in 2028, 40 of our 60 are following the course alignment to ensure that we are staying in the course alignment and not going to lose kiddos because they hopped from this pathway to that pathway to a different pathway, okay? The second progress monitoring deals with 3.2, which is our SAT, ACT. So last week, we took our juniors, our current juniors and our current seniors, took the TSI test, and we had some really wonderful results. So you'll notice our current seniors, 20% of them met both our math and reading requirements, and 14 met in math or reading and simply need to retake one or the other to meet the requirement. The reason this is so significant, if you go look at 2027's percentage that we set as a goal, based on where we were originally, based on what we knew going into and what our kids have done, we are already set with the possibility of exceeding that 2027 GPM based on the performance of this group right here. We will be expanding out, so our plan going forward is to expand our testing. We want to create a year-round testing plan that will include fall testing with some ACT plan or PSAT for freshmen, sophomores. We want to bring back having our juniors take the PSAT NIM Squat, which is the National Merit Scholar version. Like Superintendent Bates said earlier, we got some super smart kids. We need to be giving them the opportunity to earn those scholarships. And then, of course, in the spring, we will bring in TSI testing, sophomores on up, because that's going to facilitate our plans for dual credit. When you look at our dual credit report, 3.3, this again is kiddos that are currently enrolled. You will see right now that we do not have any 2026 grads enrolled in dual credit. Again, that's because we didn't currently offer it. But We do have 4 current juniors who are taking the robotics course through FCRC's, our robotics program for CTE, and they are currently in TSTC classes. And you will see that it's not on there, but I did learn from Dr. Neville's yesterday that of the kiddos, the juniors who are looking that pass TSI, 10 of them have started to request the ability to take the 1301, 1302 English class. So we are on track in those areas to meet that GPM goal, not only for current year, but then going forward. You will notice that plan deals a lot with creating those partnerships and ensuring that we have solid partnerships with MCC, with Baylor, with other community colleges. We have lots of options there to grow that program. If you remember right, one of the options for students to receive a CCMR credit was through an associate's degree. And we have, if we can follow our plan, if we can build it through, we have lots of opportunities to give students the ability to leave Marlin, not just with some credit, but even with a full associate's. So I'm excited with where we are, and I'm ready to answer any questions that you might have for me. So the biggest thing right now that you can do is just really help us share with the community the focus that we're putting on academics, the focus that we know our kiddos are there, they can do it, and the opportunities that they have. One of the things that I've heard since coming on is, hey, we got to get the opportunities out there. We got to get the kiddos to know. So when we had our CTE night in February, one of the best things that Superintendent Bates shared was the kiddos that were current seniors that were going, well, I didn't get dual credit. So the more that you can share that with the community, the more that you can let them know, hey, we are moving in that right direction. That's a great place to start at a basic level.
Ms. Swadek,
Yes, Ms. Ehlers.
on your plans for the expanded year-round testing,
Yes, ma'am.
so that's going to start next year?
Yes, ma'am. We are currently looking at the budget to see what we can do with that, and how we can make sure that we can afford to do it, but also give all the opportunities.
Thank you for going that next step, because that's going to be my next idea. Where is our budget looking for that? Okay, excellent.
Anything? Anyone else? Comments, questions? Thank you. Okay, next, Mr. Bates. Okay,
So next we'll have the 2026-27 budget workshop. To present this presentation is Mr. Norman Jones. Mr. Jones.
Thank you. Good evening, Board President Terry, members of the board, and Mr. Bates. They say money makes the world go round, but in the halls of Marlin ISD, it does something far more critical. It builds the foundation for the lives of our students. So the focus for tonight's budget workshop will be on our preliminary revenues, our expenditures, and our financial considerations. So looking at this, as I was working through the budget and working through with Region 12, we have 3 major priorities. Number 1, fiscal stewardship and operational excellence. Number 2, to ensure budget alignment with the district's strategic priorities. And number 3, to implement a competitive and market-aligned salary structure. So number 1, fiscal stewardship. We want to make sure that we do what we're supposed to be doing with district funds. That's number 1 priority. So I'll share this with you at the last board meeting, or budget workshop rather, and it is the historical revenue for the last 4 years. And so we do have a projected revenue of $12.6 million. So this budget that you're looking at now is a projection, okay? So this is not what we're probably going to finish with, but as we're kind of looking at our, what's important for the district, what do we have to have, this budget here does cover our projected expenditures for $12.6 million. I also wanted to kind of come up with a conservative budget for you guys. So this is based at $11,977,426. So basically, I have shared a budget based off of our actual numbers and then a budget example of something that's a little more conservative. So there's some wiggle room in these numbers. The next part is grants. So grants are an important funding source for Marlin ISD. We provide a lot of resources, programs, and initiatives that are able to happen through grants. Some of those grants include Title I, which we support staff, counselors, parental engagement, safety and security grants, and then a recent example is the LIVE grant, which we were just awarded not too long ago. And so I want to kind of put this in real time so you can see that we use the money that we bring in. We're not just sitting on those funds. So what are the implications for the 2026-2027 school year? So we know we have three major things. Number one is completing the new gym. Now, I just want to say this money has already been allocated. It's already been, it's not that we have to find the money for it, but this is just something to look forward to for the new year. Also, the potential of needing a fire suppression system. I know there's been some talks about that. And last but not least, looking at our utilities. Things are going up right now. If you've been to the gas pump lately, you know what I'm talking about. Okay? And so with that, we also want to make sure that we're doing right by our bond funds and our debt management. So just to bring back to your hearing, our bond payments are made in August and in February. Okay? So where does this leave us now? So this was part 2. So we discussed preliminary revenues, expenditures, and some slight compensation. So for workshop number 3, we're going to come back to you with a proposed budget. So we kind of want to know what you're thinking. Do you want a more conservative approach or a more aggressive approach? And so that decision will be up to you guys. I'll get with Mr. Bates to kind of follow up with that. And with that, are there any questions? Anything that I can answer?
If I can jump in there for a quick second, a few things I want to highlight. Definitely one of the things, as Mr. Johnson pointed out, is trustees, and forgive me because I don't know what the trustees may be used to, but I do want to do things in decent and in order and allow you all to drive, over historical knowledge, what we may have been too conservative, and now we want to be a little bit more aggressive on the things as far as projecting what our revenue may be. I would like to also point out, because we're a July 1st district, we approve our board, our budget in June. A lot of that is still projection, is way more projection than normally if you're a September 1st district. There's still a lot of projections there. I don't want to use the word guesswork, but educated guessing work. But I want to make sure that you all had an opportunity to kind of drive our decision. As far as, if with the historical knowledge, Mr. Bates, we would prefer you all be a little bit more aggressive, so we're not putting as much money in fund balance. Or, Mr. Bates, but we are looking around the corner, and numbers have kind of been off, but not too far off. But we want to make sure I'll be a little bit more conservative to make sure we're not overspending and wind up accidentally, recommending or triggering a deficit budget. And there's nothing wrong with a deficit, surplus, or a balanced budget. We want to just make sure that you all had an opportunity to kind of steer us in the right direction.
Mr. Norman, I have a question. Are all of our GPMs fully budgeted?
That's a great question, and I will get back with you, and I consult with Ms. Kim about that. And I know for the upcoming school year, we're still in the process of budgeting, but I can follow up with you to see kind of where we are with that. Yes, ma'am.
Piggyback off of Ms. Allen. Is there a way that we could take the the higher instructional side of the budget and combine it with some of the lower sides of the conservative budgets, so that we have a little bit more padding in our instruction, so we can do things like the SATs and the testing that Ms. Swadek was talking to us about.
So right now, I'll go back a little. So when you look at the conservative and the more aggressive, so we have some funds where we can kind of, for the lack of better words, kind of play with. This is what I can guarantee you, that whatever we want to do on the instructional side, we're able to do it, whether it's through the LASSO grant or some other funds, or we have funds that we can use. You know, each campus has their own budget, so whatever her major initiatives are, within reason,
Yeah.
I can almost guarantee you that we can make sure that that happens.
Okay,
Reading, math, science, social studies, academics, we got it.
all right, thank you, Mr. Jones.
Mr. Jones?
Yes, ma'am.
When, do you have someone, as far as the grants, someone that stays on top of, like, do you have deadlines? And someone that is there to make sure that we meet the deadlines to receive the grants?
That's a great question. And so the answer to that question is yes. So we partner a lot with Region 12, and so they really guide us in. We have regular meetings, so they're like, hey, this money has to be spent by this day, or make sure that you submit this document to receive the grant, because even though we apply for the LASSO grant, we still have to accept the LASSO grant. And so they really work with us to make sure that we take care of those things. And also work with Dr. Neville, she helps with the grant process as well. So as a team, we're all working together to make sure that we're fiscally responsible and that whatever needs we have for the students, that we're able to make sure that they're met. Yes, ma'am. That's a great question.
So I want to add a little context to many of the great outstanding questions that I've heard today. I'll work in a reverse order. So like using the LASSO grant that Mr. Jones was talking about earlier, we get support from the regional service centers, but a lot of times we still manage the grants ourselves, like the LASSO grant. Myself and Ms. Swatek are the ones that actually oversee that. Superintendent actually is the one that manages every grant, but of course I have a team of people to help me manage those things. You may be alluding to what would be beneficial, what's called a grant writer. Typically, if you had a thing called a person or a position called a grant writer, that person they pretty much also raise enough money to justify their salary and things like that. And so we haven't necessarily went in that direction just yet because of the size of our district that we, for the most part, manage our districts, our grants in-house, but we do get support from regions as well. Does that make sense? And then I think the other question that I heard on the floor was about most of our GPMs budgeted. They will be budgeted because the GPMs and the goals that we did, the work that we did a few weeks ago, almost a month ago, it sets that as a priority in our budget. So great question. So when we were in the team and in the room doing a lot of things that relate, as we are right now working on our budget, that becomes the priority. And so I want to make sure that everyone always understands that, you know, once we have our focus in our direction, that's how we make our priority. So if there are things that have to come off or things that we have to consider that's not in the budget next year, it won't be anything as far as the goals or the GPMs, because as you all heard me say that before, I'm the board's hired contractor, so if you all get a chance to tell me this is how you want it, we make sure those things happen. I feel like I missed another question. Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Jones. Next, we will have the Bond 2022 update. And for that presentation, I will turn it over to Dr. Troy Bethley. Dr. Bethley.
Good evening, Madam President Terry, members of the board, and Superintendent Bates. I'm here to provide a brief update on the continued progress of our construction project. We're pleased to report that the structural steel phase of the project is now underway. This marks a significant milestone as we begin establishing the primary framework of the building. These elements are critical to ensuring the overall stability of the structure and meeting all code requirements. This work is being completed in alignment with engineering specifications and safety standards. Steel columns and beams are currently being installed, establishing both the vertical and horizontal support systems. In addition, roof rafters are being placed across the building bays, forming the foundation of the structural roof system. Overall progress during this phase reflects steady advancement toward a safe, stable, and code-compliant facility. We're moving into the next phase of selecting colors for the bleachers, basketball goals, and flooring. The board will be kept informed as these selections are finalized. This time, I'll stop for any questions or discussions.
Mr. Bentley, thank you. I was under the two gyms that would meet, it would be a wall, and you won't have like, because I thought when it was first presented, there would be a window, like a little hallway
In between,
in between those. So it'd just be a wall.
it'd be the offices and the locker rooms, in between the existing gym and the new gym.
Okay. Thank you,
A great question.
thank you.
Yes, it is a wall, yes.
There's
A hallway, yes.
Okay, thank you.
It'll be connecting, yes, sir. And they have the offices and the locker rooms in that area as well. They'll tie the existing gym to the new gym. In between, they have the locker rooms and the offices. But it will be a hallway. Yes, sir. Any other questions?
You're referring to the court, correct? The court itself,
Yes,
correct?
it's a regulation.
The old gym itself, I mean, is the ceiling gonna be high enough?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It will be.
But keep going. I know why you're asking that question. Keep going. Because this is one of the things I want to make sure that we brought back to you from the last meeting. I'll keep commenting then. So I did get a chance, trustee Johnson did talk last time about the size of and is it the proper height? According to the dimensions that I saw, it's going to be very close to the same height of the current gym that we have. Yeah. So the question that I would still, at some point in time, want the trustees to make sure that I get a chance to kind of double check and oversee, was that different from what was presented prior to? Because I want to make sure that the transition between old regime and new regime, where expectations don't get lost. But the gym is going to, if I can give you a visual, is going to actually resemble more of the middle school gym, but bigger and newer, versus the high school gym, which has this flat, the one that's kind of closed, but the high school gym where it has a flat all the way across ceiling. This one has more vaulted, which is very similar to the middle school gym across the way.
Yes.
But it has more seating ability and newer seating. So the question I would have to ask is, and we can talk offline, Mr. Bates, I need you to double check. I'm not sure that's how it was presented or anything like that, but those are the renderings that's been given to me. Thank you, Mr. Bithley.
Okay.
And next, the last information item will be the Marlin High School fire high school's fire suppression system update. Once again, I'll turn over to Dr. Bithley.
Good evening, Madam President, Terry, members of the board, and Superintendent Bates. I'm here to provide an update on the Marlin High School fire suppression system. A coordinated fire and safety review has been completed involving the city and the architect for the facility. Through this process, it was determined that low on-site water pressure limits the feasibility of installing a sprinkler system. Based on these findings, a sprinkler system is not required. Therefore, we're not required to pursue the recent change order that was recommended in the previous board meeting by administration. An addendum has been prepared by the architect director to document these conditions and outline a revised safety plan moving forward. The existing fire alarm system is currently under review to determine whether it meets the required standards for detecting smoke and fire. In addition, we'll explore other options for automatic smoke detection systems in case the current fire system does not meet the requirements. If an alternative is needed, we will present to the board for the review. We're continuing to prioritize most effective safety improvements for the facility. Fire watch procedures will remain in place to ensure the safety during this time. Mr. Bates will review all information and determine the appropriate next steps moving forward. At this time, I'll pause any questions or discussions.
I'll add just a little bit for context to make sure everyone is clear. So I want to say since November, have been informed that this building, the high school building, the one that had the most recent renovations, was required to have a fire suppression system to be up to code. And so through further research, the building does not have enough water pressure to be able to support that code that we're required to have a fire suppression system. So trustees, our next steps, what we want to do is we still want to make sure that we have a way to be alarmed or alerted that if there's a fire or emergency immediately in the building, and also even if the building is closed, that we don't have a complete loss of our building. But what this opportunity does allows us to do is because when you're talking about the 2022 bond, there may have been other things that the district was wanting to earmark money for, because the change order that was recommended, I believe it was January or February, was in the amount of a little bit over $1 million. $1 million of the 2022 bond. So this will allow us to now not spend as much money on a non-predicted or calculated project, and we can now spend funds on either other things related to the high school or the elementary or middle school. So what we're wanting to do is also go and price out what a smoke detection system is, if that's what the board sees as a better opportunity to do. And then we can make a more calculated decision. Do we want to go with a smoke detection system and then spend the rest of the money on upgrading our other facilities? Or do we see the bigger need is, let's just go ahead and have a fire suppression system, which would have to have additional equipment to it, like a booster pumper and things like that, because the water pressure is so low, but so it can still support the building if it has a fire. But once again, that kind of eats into the funds that was probably not intended to be used out of the 2022 bond. Does that make sense? Okay. So now, once again, I'll still pause for any other questions or discussions.
What system do we have at the elementary and middle school?
I may have to get back to that.
That's a great question.
I'm
I'll
not
get
really
back with
sure.
you on that one. Yes.
But I don't believe the elementary and middle school has a fire suppression system either.
Do they have smoke? The smoke detection system?
The question on the floor is, does those two campuses have a smoke detection system?
Fire detection system they do.
So fire detection system, for clarification, it can detect heat, but that's a lot of heat for it to detect before it goes off. Smoke detection can detect smoke before you get to the heat. And of course, a fire suppression system puts out a fire if it's detected.
That's correct.
So
So
will
typically
we,
a fire suppression system and a fire detection system work hand in hand.
so will we put smoke detection systems in the other schools, or will it just be the high school?
That could be something we could do with the additional funds. There isn't a plan, it's my understanding, there wasn't a direct plan to add a smoke detection system to any of the buildings, let alone a fire suppression system. But we do know that safety is paramount, and so we don't want to be too far out and say, well, we don't want anything for the building because things happen. And even if we made that decision, that doesn't mean that's a decision that we have to stay with forever. There's other ways of going about if we want to either continue with the fire suppression system or do smoke detection system, whether we use bond funds or not bond funds, is a totally different conversation that we can talk about. Although if we don't use bond funds, and it goes into the previous presentation that you heard Mr. Jones talk about, that will have to come out of the future budget recommendation that will be recommended to the board, whether it comes from either the general fund or whether that comes from our fund balance. Do we still have fire drills? Yes, that's
Yes, we
required by
do
the
have
state.
those.
That's law. Great question. All right, thank you, Dr. Bethley.
At this time, we'll have presentations of the future action items. Okay, the first is Senate Bill 546, the 3-point seat belts.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr.
So
Bates?
I would like to turn that back over to Dr. Bethley one more time. Dr. Bethley.
Good evening, Madam President, Terry, members of the board, and Superintendent Bates. I'm here to provide information on Senate Bill 546, 3-point seat belts. Senate Bill 546, passed on the 89th legislative session, establishes new safety requirements that will significantly impact our district's transportation operations. This legislation mandates that all school buses be equipped with three-point seatbelts by 2029. The requirements applies to the entire bus fleet and includes both passengers and drivers, reinforcing a higher standard of safety across all transportation services. We have completed a preliminary review of our current fleet and associated costs. The district currently operates 12 standard buses with an estimated retrofitting cost of $432,000 and a replacement cost ranging from $1.4 million to $2 million. Additionally, we have one special education bus with an estimated retrofitting cost of $18,000 and a replacement cost between $150,000 to $200,000. One special education bus purchased in 2024 does not require any retrofitting or replacement. In total, the estimated cost of retrofitting the fleet is $450,000, while full replacement is estimated at approximately at $2.2 million. A grant opportunity will be made available to eligible school systems after reporting closes. Notification will be sent via email through Sentinel. We will monitor it closely to determine eligibility and potential funding support. It is important to note that there are no exceptions for buses manufactured prior to 2017. Additionally, the board is required to formally document the decision, and a public presentation of the survey results must be included as part of the process. And the survey had two main questions, and the two questions read: are all LEA-owned buses equipped with three-point seatbelts for both the driver and every passenger seat for our district? That was a no. Does the bus transportation contract explicitly require that all buses used to transport students are equipped with three-point seatbelts for the driver and all passenger seats? As both questions were answered in the negative, the board must determine whether the purchased buses equipped with three-point seatbelts aligns with the district's budget. And so, at a future meeting, the board will need to make formal action by selecting one of the following options. Option one, a future budget will support the purchase and implementation of required seatbelts. Option two, a future budget will not support the purchase. The TEA has provided a structured pathway, as you can see here, for compliance, which includes this presentation that's required tonight. And also, further updates will be provided as we move forward in the process. And at this time, I will pause for any questions and discussions.
On the current fleet, the 12 standard buses that we have now, do we know what their lifespan is? Like, do we think they can, how old are they? Have we done analysis on how much more wear and tear can we get out of those
And I'll let
buses?
Mr. Marshall answer that for you.
Most of our fleet is over 20 years old, so most of them would not be recommended to retrofit with seat belts. And some of the companies who won't put it in writing but have told me that they will not be safety rated anymore afterward because it would require replacing the floor of the bus. So we have maybe 4 buses that would stand a retrofit.
Great question. Any other questions?
Dr. Bethany, it says there's a grant opportunity available, but there's no guarantee we will get the grants.
Yes, at this time, the state is just collecting information from all the school districts, and once they collect the information, then they'll keep everyone posted.
Okay,
But
and
the
so that
biggest-
means that we would have to come out of our general fund for the retrofitting or the replacement pieces, which would have to happen with the budget we are already working on right now, correct?
That's correct.
Which means,
On
or fund
yes.
balance, which means we have not put this cost into place, correct?
That- I would say that's correct.
Yes, okay, all right.
A great question. Any other questions?
I do want to add for clarification, this is all by the year 2030.
2029.
Oh, 2029?
2029.
Okay, before 2030.
Yes.
Got it.
We could slowly, okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Dr. Bethley. Next, we're going to have the title purchase of student Chromebooks. And for that presentation, I'd like to turn it over to the Chief of Technology, Mr. Adam Lejeune. Mr. Lejeune?
Thank you, Superintendent Bates, Board President Ms. Terry, members of the board. If you may recall, about a year ago during our budget preparation time last year, I mentioned that we would have a future need to replace a number of Chromebooks, including some from that COVID area and some that were made as part of a leasing agreement. Fortunately, as we are in our budgeting planning time now, Dr. Nevels has found some title funding that will allow us to purchase those without adding them as a budgeted agenda, or sorry, a budgeted item in the, specifically in the general education, general fund. So about the process, so I did submit for proposals from 3 competing vendors as required by title rules for 300 Chromebooks, including the licenses and extended warranty support. We selected by committee the bid representing the greatest value to the district, and were informed that we were going to be able to pay with a combination of title funds of about 3/4 of the purchase, and then local funds for the remaining 1/4. And we have already identified those funds, and we are going to be asking for approval at the next board meeting to start working on that purchase. The device that we chose was the HP Fortis rugged 11-inch device, which is very similar to the last batch that we bought. 300 devices, licenses, warranty, and the total price came out to $97,842. And again, there will be an action required at a future board meeting. Is there any discussion or questions?
Anyone? Any questions?
The 300 Chromebooks that you're ordering, are some of these replacements for some broken ones and then some extras?
Thank you. That's a good question. We have approximately 300 devices that were purchased, or I'm sorry, that were leased as part of a leasing vehicle, and that was maybe 5 years ago. So the majority of those devices will be replacing the lease return devices. Yes, ma'am. I do want to remind you, though, that we made a purchase of about 150 Chromebooks at the beginning of this year. So a lot of those were the replacing and expanding of our fleet. This is more of a replacement. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lejeune. The next, we'll have the E-rate contract approval, Category 1 of self-provision, fiber in Category 2. For this presentation is once again the Chief of Technology, Mr. Adam Lejeune. Mr. Lejeune?
Thank you, Mr. Bates. Good evening again, Madam President, members of the board. It is that season again. At an earlier board meeting, I provided you with a reminder about E-rate. It's funding provided by the federal government. It's administered by the Universal Service Administrative Company, and the E-rate program has rules that we follow in order to get discounts, very deep discounts on certain types of telecommunication services and products. We did get our evaluations done per E-rate rules. I have our evaluation categories listed here. And a reminder that the flat cost to the district is required to be the most highly rated category. And so we followed that rules using these categories here. So Category 1 relates to telecommunication services such as internet connection and building-to-building fiber. We did previously award a fiber connection to the new maintenance and transportation facility. However, since that building has not been fully handed over to us, then that window opportunity to install that has lapsed. So even though it was approved at a previous E-rate season, those funds never actually got spent, and so we did not incur any cost on that. However, because it's been a period of time since then, we were required to go back out for bid on that connection. That is a building-to-building connection. It is one of the Category 1 items, and we receive a 90% discount on that. Because we already have fiber in the ground going to the old bus barn, or the current bus barn, I should say, and the 130 Coleman building, then we actually see a fairly good discount on fiber being run. And so with a pre-discount cost of $32,364, after our 90% discount, it will only cost us $3,236.40. However, we do, since we are purchasing that fiber and not leasing it, then we would need to keep a maintenance and operation contract, which is a pre-discount amount of $499, which after our 90% discount, around $50 a month, and that is a 36-month term. For Category 2, specifically this year, we are replacing, or we're intending to replace old switches, some of them here from before I came here about 10 years ago, increase the number of access points for the middle school building, and that is Category 2. So for Category 2, we get an 85% discount. It's the first year of our current cycle this year, so now is the time to move on that. We are seeking board approval for only one of the items that we are asking for, which is the network switches. Since the pre-discount price is over our $25,000 board threshold at $32,215.47, with a cost to the district of $4,832.32. However, for transparency, the wireless access point expansion to cover items that were borrowed from the other buildings to provision this building, we are also have a pre-discount cost of $21,122.66 and a post-discount cost of $3,168.40. So I was supposed to bring this to you at an earlier date. However, the extension of the Category 1 bid was sort of a surprise to me. It was brought to us by our consultants at Region 12 that we were no longer going to just be able to hold on. We had to rebid it. So that took a little extra time. However, in order to meet our requirements, we did send award letters out to the winning bidders. However, in our contracts that we received and in the award letter language, we did note that those contracts that require it are pending board approval, and USAC as well has to approve our discounts before we will spend that money. So I am going to come back to you next at the next board meeting and ask for your approval to sign those contracts with purchase to immediately follow, but installation after that, not to be invoiced before July 1st, so for next year, so it would be a next year purchase per E-rate rules. And again, I will be asking for action to approve at a future meeting. Are there any questions or discussion?
So you said that we need to have, that we're pending the USAC approval as well, so will we have that before we make our decision?
Probably not, to be honest with you. It takes sometimes into July before USAC gives approval.
Okay.
However, even as part of our award letter, we specifically stated if the board approves and USAC does not approve, we won't be incurring all that additional cost.
Okay.
So that's our exit clause for those contracts. And then we would need to find some other vehicle to make those purchases because we do have a need, not a critical need for switches, but a critical need for access points.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lejeune. Next, we will have the Marlin ISD Investment Policy Review by the Chief Operating Officer, Mr. Norman Jones. Mr. Jones?
Good evening again, Board President Terry, members of the board, and Mr. Bates. So just as we carefully plan how we budget and spend district dollars, it's equally important that we manage and safeguard the funds that we hold. Each year, the board is required to review the district's written investment policies under CDA Legal and CDA Local. So CDA Legal covers certain categories such as investment strategies and bonds, while CDA Local covers approved investment instruments and oversees the annual review and audits. So in a nutshell, this policy governs all aspects of how the district invests its funds. It serves as the primary guideline for managing and increasing the value of our local financial assets. So our next steps is for you guys to review CDA Legal and Local and to make any policy recommendations as deemed necessary. So this is a state mandate that you guys review that policy and then sign the resolution stating that the policy has been reviewed. So this will be brought to you at the next board meeting on April 20th. Are there any questions?
So trustees, at any point in time, as you all are reviewing the policy, if you have any questions, even after today, if you'll send them to me, I can make sure we get them answered for you. Once again, even if we don't change the policy, we just have to make sure we sign the document that states it's been reviewed. But it's a perfect opportunity, especially when you're talking about how our finances and our investment goes. It's a great opportunity to make sure that what we're expecting is actually the outcome that we're receiving. Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Just turned it on. Okay? If we do not have any further business, do I hear a motion to adjourn the meeting? Okay, Ms. Trotter? Second by Ms. Tomlinson. It's 7:04 and the meeting is adjourned.